Adding KNX devices to the Z-Wave Me multi-protocol controller. Configuring the device in the ETS software. Here we'll show you how to add KNX devices to the Z-Wave.me multi-protocol controller, and then interact with them from the Z-Wave. Launch ETS program on Windows. To ease the setup, download a ready-to-go project from the manufacturer's website and import it in ETS. Warning: check the ETS version. You need version 606. Using ETS version 610 will lead to a failure. Import the project downloaded from the manufacturer's website. Be very careful. The project has to match the part number of your device. If the part number is different, the project may not work with the device. You'll need to open several tabs to configure your device. The first tab is the network topology. Set the connection type to TP. It stands for Twisted Pair. Create a new line for the device location. In our case, the line will be called Home. Find out the device address that the manufacturer assigned to it by default. You will use it to access and configure your devices. Open the Diagnostics tab. Go to Programming mode. Click Start. Select the Wire and Board KNX gateway. In order to find the device, press the Programming mode button on the device itself. After the device address is found, stop programming mode by pressing the button again. Here, the device address is 1.0.10. Close the Diagnostics tab and open the devices. All added devices to the project are located here. To access a device, you need to specify its address. Device 1.0.10 appeared on line 1. So far, there has been no communication with it, so there are dashes here. To be sure all functions are supported, you need to update the device application program. Select the gateway and download the firmware. You'll see that there is a connection with the device, which means that the correct address was entered. It is now possible to configure the device. The Devices tab can be closed. Go to Settings, configure how the buttons should work, as a group or separately. I choose Separately. There are 4 buttons that need to be configured. What will the buttons do? These will be momentary switches, switching their state each time you press them. The settings are all the same. Here are settings for controlling and receiving the feedback from the device. Open the Group Addresses tab. By setting the group address, you define where a device sends a command when a button is pressed. At the moment, group addresses have not yet been configured. Clicking the button will not send any command. After adding group addresses in the Z-Wave Me controller, you can specify these group addresses and the controller will receive commands from the switch at these group addresses. Add a main group. The main group is called Light. Next, add an intermediate group in which you place the buttons. They will perform on and off functions. Add addresses here. The default addresses start from 1, so just write the name button 1, and it will be assigned the group address 0/0/1. Add addresses for the remaining buttons in the same way. Name button 2. I can change this address, but it suits us. Same for button 3 and button 4. Now you need to set up relations. What will be sent to this address? The following commands will be sent from the switch to the group address. Button 1, press events, and the feedback. We configure buttons 2, 3, and 4 in the same way. Group addresses are configured. Let's check out when the button is clicked. A switch command is sent. The button properties are set to switch. Close the Group Addresses tab and open the Diagnostics tab to see what commands are being sent. I started network monitoring and pressed the button on the switch, but nothing happened because I had not yet loaded the settings into the device. Click Download to send the new settings. Here I clicked the Download button, but the download was only partial. You need to press the arrow and select the full download option. ETS asks you to press a button on the device. Press once and the settings will be transferred to the device. The transfer has been successfully completed, and you can now observe commands the device sends when you press each button. When you press button 1, a command is sent from address 1.0.10 to group address 0/0/1, command on. I click again, the command is off. That is correct. This is a toggle mode. Here I pressed button 3, then button 2, and pressed button 4. The device is configured correctly and transmits the necessary commands. Now you need to add the KNX device in the Z-Wave.me controller interface and add group addresses in it, indicating that the group address controls the switch. Adding widgets in the controller. To add KNX devices in the Z-Wave.me controller interface, you need: first, change the access level to administrator. Go to the Configs KNX Group Objects Configuration section and add the 4 group addresses that we created previously. Create a device with ID 1.0.10 and add group addresses one by one. Button 1, group address 0/0/1. Button 2, group address 0/0/2. Button 3, group address 0/0/3. Button 4, group address 0/0/4. Save it. Now 4 switches have appeared in the device section. It is good to write a meaningful title like here for the first one, but you can also use the default ID instead. Now check by pressing the switch button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4. It works. Widgets in the Z-Wave user interface. All devices connected to the Z-Wave.me controller will automatically appear in the Z-Wave interface. This is provided by the built-in Wire and Board MQTT connector application, which can be configured. The default settings are fine. Below, you can see the current list of connected devices. Unused devices can be disabled by unchecking the boxes. For example, if 2 buttons are not used, they can be disabled for now. We will have 2 widgets left. Now, I press button 1, button 2 on the touch switch, and the system responds instantly. Setting up connections between KNX and Z-Wave. In the Z-Wave controller interface, it is easy to configure the interaction of Z-Wave devices and KNX devices. I have added a Z-Wave relay and a KNX switch with 4 buttons. To control the Z-Wave device from the KNX button, go to Applications, Local, and add the association application. The state of button 1 is transmitted to the relay. I press button 1 on the switch, and button 1 and the relay are simultaneously turned on in the interface. Let's configure another example. Using apps, you can configure control of a KNX device with a Z-Wave motion sensor. To do this, open Local Applications and use, for example, the If-Then application. Select a Z-Wave motion sensor. If it triggers, we want to send a command to the KNX switch to button number 1. I'll first turn off all the buttons, and now I'll trigger the motion sensor. The sensor triggered, and we see that the button turned on. You can also write more complex automation using the Easy Scripting app.